Way through the BBC passages to put you in the mood. This was #1 for them for 18 weeks in the year of 1960, and it really does stand the test of time.
Don't want your love anymore. Don't want your kisses, that's for sure. You know a man can crawl. Oh, he knows you tell lies and he lives on passing by. He's not a man at all. Don't want your love anymore. Don't want your kisses, that's for sure. I die each time. When you see me shed a tear, and you know that it's sincere, don't you think it's kind of sad that you're treating me for bad, or don't you even care? Don't want your love anymore. Don't want your kisses, that's for sure.
That's the Everlys and Cathy's Clown. I must ask the lads why all the records made in the 60s were so short. I mean, Adam Faith was famous, wasn't he? Most of his records were about 1 minute 10, and they only lasted about 2 minutes 19. There must be a reason. Maybe they were cheap skates. Anyway, while the boys have a cup of coffee and we settle them down in front of the microphones, I'm going to leave you with another duo who were very successful in about the same era. Slightly different, as you might imagine. I haven't heard this for centuries.
A year ago, last Thursday, I was strolling in the zoo when I met a man who thought he knew the lot. He was laying down the law about the habits of baboons or the number of quills a porcupine has got. So I asked him, what's that creature there? He answered, it's a helk. I might have gone on thinking that was true, if the animal in question hadn't put that chap to shame and remarked, I ain't a helk. I'm a gnu. I'm a gnu. I'm a gnu. The nicest work of nature in the zoo. I'm a gnu. How do you do? You really ought to know wahoo's wahoo. I'm a gnu. Spelt G-N-U. I'm not a camel or a kangaroo. So let me introduce, I'm neither man or moose. So gnu, 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 I'm a gnu. I had taken furnished lodgings down at Rustington-on-Sea, whence I travelled on to Ashton-under-Lyme, it was actually. And the second night I stayed there, I was wakened from a dream, which I'll tell you all about some other time. Among the hunting trophies on the wall above my bed, stuffed and mounted, was a face I thought I knew. A bison. No, it's not a bison. An okapi. It's unlikely, really. Could it be a harty beast? Then I seemed to hear a voice. I'm a gnu. I'm a gnu. Another gnu. I wish I could gnash my teeth at you. I'm a GNU. How do you do? You really ought to know wahoo's wahoo. I'm a GNU, spelled G-N-U. Call me bison or a copy and I'll sue. Nor am I in the least like that dreadful hearty beast. Oh, GNU, GNU, GNU. GNU, 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 I'm a GNU. GNU, GNU, GNU. I'm a GNU.
A very light touch, marvellous. Flanders and Swan there. And the GNU song. Hey folks, the Everly Brothers and Duane Eddy, they're back in town and will be at a theatre near you very soon. More of those dates a bit later on in the programme. Bird Dog, Kathy's Clown, we just heard, Walk Right Back. Well, the brothers sitting in front of me, you are, boys, really pop legends. You have to be. Pop legends. I'm sitting in front of a pop legend. Well, you bridged the gap, didn't you, between those solo acts that followed Elvis and, of course, the era of the pop groups like the Stones and the Beatles. So welcome to Don. Hi, Don.
Thank you so much.
And Phil.
Hello.
Hi, Phil. Sorry about our weather.
That's quite all right. We brought our Burberrys.
You certainly need them. Do you like Britain, or is it just a place that is just another...
No, we have a tremendous amount of friends here, and over the years, there's a lot of close friends. In fact, my best friend lives in England.
Really? Whereabouts?
Yeah. Well, he lives down in Hindhead. You know, Terry Slater. He's has a group here called Aha.
Do you get different reactions in Britain to your music that you would do perhaps in the States? Because, I mean, we are a little quieter, aren't we? What do you say to that, Don?
Well, I think that the audiences here really know the details of music. I mean, somewhat more than we do in the States. I think it's probably due to the Beeb and, you know, all that, because you keep people, you know, to this, not just what's top 10, which I think is good, you know, and that's that difference shows up with people. They ask for some of the most obscure things when we're here.
Really?
You know, things that we haven't thought about in years ourselves. But someone will say, "Would you do how about this?" And so I think that maybe they do delve into the music a little more than the normal person would in the States.
Do you agree with that, Phil?
Yeah, that's true. There's another thing that's always been important. When we first came to Britain in the ages, back in the very beginnings of pioneering days of rock and roll, that the people in Britain were willing to accept something new, whereas there was an attitude of anti in the United States, and it was really kind of wonderful to come here, like in 1960, our first tour, and have that sort of an acceptance from the industry, whereas the industry was fighting rock and roll in the States.
I remember arriving here and, you know, after touring in the States for a couple of years, where we would go, especially the media. The radio stations that played rock and roll, that was fine, but the newspapers and etc. really didn't like it. I mean, it was basically was considered bad influence.
Bad boys.
Bad.
And they were right, but
Well, we won't go into that.
And we didn't think of it. We didn't think of it as that. And I always thought, well, I mean, I was in love with rock and roll. I heard Little Richard, Bo Diddley, and I said, I'm going to like this the rest of my life. And I like Hank Williams too, but. When we arrived here, the attitude was, gee, you're having fun with that, aren't you? And it was okay. And I couldn't believe that it was okay to really enjoy it. And it was good. And it proved to be true, because I think maybe rock and roll was dying on the vine in the States. And when the Rolling Stones and Beatles come along, it revived it.
It's I think fans can be very selfish, can't they? I mean, you are the Everly Brothers and you're ours. We don't really care that you're bored to death with each other, you're in a caravan all the time. I mean, why should... I love my brother, but I didn't want to be with him forever. You know, the terrible pressures. Did you find when you split up, which is completely natural after being together since childhood, did you find that the fans were really cross with you?
There was. I not cross so much as that, where's your brother? You know, that was they would look at you, where's your brother? And it, you know, for a while you get, well, Jesus, I'm a person too, all by myself. But basically, I think the time we spent, you know, finding that out was good. And we needed the time. I mean, Lord knows that you need time to grow as a person and an individual and not always be attached to this one thing. And it really did make it much better in my mind and things to come back after some time off.
The critics are saying now you're making better music than you've ever done. I mean, what was the reaction when you came back to the Royal Albert Hall in, what was it, 83? Phil?
84? Was it?
There's much confusion about that.
Yeah, I can't ever remember either. There
We're
was
so
that
old
period
now,
we
we're
didn't-
senile, we can't recall.
You don't
We're
look
lucky if we have
senile,
the
either
lyric
of you.
right, But that was a marvelous feeling. We had played the Albert Hall with our father and prior to our breakup, and it was always held a special meaning to us, and so and it's also a beautiful place, and it's a wonderful place to play, and so when we did it, it was just really, really nice.
But all the tickets were sold out, I gather, before they were even offered.
Yeah. Well, I think that our audience at that particular time was just maybe a little more nervous than we were, because I thought, that
wanted us to do
they wanted us to do so well. I know they did, because afterward they said we were so relieved that you guys weren't terrible, and basically I thought we sounded good too, and I think we sound good today. I don't think that you necessarily reach your peak in your 20s, like they say. I think singing and all that comes with experience,
You
and
mature,
your material
don't you?
changes.
Yeah.
You can do the old things, the songs that you did when you were younger, but you do them with your new musicians and your band and your spirit today, And
But why then, Phil, did you actually come back together? I'm sorry these are awfully cliche questions, but they're the ones people want to know.
The basic reason is that we are music makers. Is what we really are. It's what our destiny, I guess, or whatever. Whatever we were supposed to have, it's what it was, and it was something that we had to reconcile, and it just had to be done before, life you died or something happened to you, and it would have been a terrible thing to have, and I always make the suggestion, because there's a lot of brothers and sisters, we get a lot of, people will come and say they haven't spoken to, or there's some tiff in the family, and there's some problem. And I always suggest if our concert's a good one to come to, you might invite them to it, But it's a good thing to do. It's important.
I always remember talking to a very famous opera singer and saying, you didn't ask to have a voice. You two didn't ask to be musicians, although it runs in your family. Have you ever felt, I really wish I could have been an accountant or a stockbroker or a bus driver?
Not an accountant, not a lawyer. Either one of those two. We're not too keen on those two. At least the ones we've had.
There are times you sometimes wish that your lot in life wasn't quite what it is, But when you really think about it, I think you probably, no matter what it is, you're going to wish that anyway. I mean, you could, it's just what you're given in life. It's the way the cards are played, and we're all equal. We're all so totally equal anyway. I think being part of the group, sometimes it gets frustrating. Really, it's not me, it's not just me. But when you're part of a group, it takes a lot of the pressure off, too.
There's hardly anything.
There's two of us out there. If something goes wrong, it's going to be half his fault, too.
It's always his fault.
There's hardly anything in life worth doing that you do alone anyway.
Yeah.
I don't think we'll go into that. I think it's about time to play a record. You mentioned the Stones and the Beatles. You ganged up with Paul McCartney, didn't you, on the Wings of a
Yes.
Nightingale? I'd like to play that for everybody
Great.
now, if I may.
When I love, I get a feeling like I'm traveling through the sky on the wings of a nightingale. As I ride, my head is reeling, but I don't even wonder why. On the wings of a nightingale, I'll fly high above land and sea. I'll be thinking of you and me. Couldn't ask for a better place to be. Oh, I can feel something happening. Oh, I can feel something happening. Oh, I can feel something happening to me. So hold my hand. I've got a feeling that the journey has just begun. On the wings of a nightingale. And if you like, we'll fly together to the land of eternal sun. On the wings of a nightingale of love. High above land and sea, I'll be thinking of you and me.
in the charts for the Everlys and Paul McCartney for 9 weeks in 1984. I have, as my guest, the Everly Brothers, but we have a truffle flash.
Radio 2, Travel News.
Yes, here's a message from our travel centre for drivers using the M40 in Buckinghamshire and the M25 west of London Heathrow. An accident involving diesel spillage has partially blocked the eastbound carriageway of the M40 east of junction 4, the highway and the High Wycombe access, and there's already a very lengthy tailback there on this section of the M40, and it's bound to get worse. And that's the eastbound M40, partially blocked east of junction 4 near High Wycombe. If possible, use an alternative route for at least the next hour. And we told you earlier, I gather, about an accident on the anti-clockwise southbound carriageway of the M25 near junction 15, the M4 intersection west of London Heathrow. If anything, I'm afraid the position has worsened there, and of course remember it's Friday, with the southbound tailback now reaching junction 17 near Rickmansworth. The Everly Brothers are my guest. I hope you're not going down the M40 tonight, boys.
No, I don't believe so.
I am. Never mind. Why then? We were just whittering about it earlier on. Sorry, I've just forgotten to open your microphone. We were whittering earlier on about why those earlier records were so short. Why was it?
Well, I think because of commercials back in those days, but also it just seemed to... Gosh, it must have started with Hank Williams when he started writing songs that length, because that was the standard length, about 3 minutes. And I mean, people would time the record and say, well, that's a little long.
You're talking about the commercial breaks that they wanted to put out.
There was commercial breaks because, I mean, basically, commercial radio back in the States, records did a commercial. We used to work as a live act, and we would sing short songs, then read a commercial.
Right, that's what... well, that's answered one question for me. Another question, why do you think your sound, because you've got as many fans now, if not more, than you did in those early days, Phil, why do you think you've been so successful and so enduring?
It's really beyond me. I just feel like we're just kind of lucky. I don't know, maybe the fact that the choice of material in the beginning was and we were surrounded by good songwriters, and I think if you do a song that has some lastability, you know, it's going to last, and I think that made a difference. And some of the songs are, a lot of people that come, a song is important in their life, like All I Have to Do Is Dream, It's When We Met, or I Dated, you know, and it's a certain thing like that. I think that has more to do with it. I don't know if it's anything else. It's all I can claim.
But have you preferred recording your own songs, Don, or doing versions from other people?
I never... See, we grew up in live radio, and before we ever wrote songs, we were singing other people's songs on radio, and Hank Williams was my favorite, Phil had his favorites, and we would sing a solo, then we would sing a duet, we would sing some Delmore Brothers songs and Bales Brothers songs our father had taught us, and then when we started writing, we would sing those, and so we never thought, well, you had to write everything you sing, and if some great song came along, I mean, it felt perfectly natural to sing that film, put that together, and put our stamp on it, so to speak, and do it. And we did that with songs like Temptation, you know, took an old pop standard and, you know, revamped it to what we felt was, you know, dressing it for the day and doing it that way. Sometimes we got a little flack about that, actually.
Yeah, but thank God nobody remembers your bad records.
You do. Well, the Beatles and I think Simon and Garfunkel, they've all openly said that both of you, your music, was an influence on them. Does it make you feel terribly old when you hear things like that?
Only in the morning when I get up, you know, but outside of that, no. It's kind of nice to be able to look back on your life and still be able to, entertain someone, you know, with what you can do, and the fact that somebody may have been influenced. We had influences too. Donald mentioned the Bales Brothers and Delmore Brothers, and you know, you
Chuck
learn
Berry.
from someone.
We stand on the shoulders of those that came before us.
We all do, don't we?
Yeah.
We all do.
Yeah, we certainly do. But mentioning the Stones and the Beatles, in a way, they rather moved you down the scale, didn't they? Because the group thing became very...
Yeah.
Did you resent that at all? Did you then feel rather
Well, we
old-fashioned?
were sort of a group that we needed one more.
You know, this is strange, though. See, when we first hit, it was all Elvis and such, the single. And the two of us, they didn't quite know how to take us at that, because that did sort of, but then the group thing happened. They passed by duets, and it's fine, you know. Basically, it all works out like, your place in the music business is something that you have to deal with yourself, basically, when you're not there. It's us. I don't think I'm prone to just get up on stage just to sing, but I like being an Everly brother. That's something that seems to have a life of its own, which is fine with me.
Did you know Elvis?
We met him once at the Grand Ole Opry, but didn't know him. And,
No, we didn't.
but I always heard
We
great
had to,
things.
you
a
know,
lot of
we were
respect for
invited.
him.
We were invited a lot of times around. Not, but you know, he didn't call us. They come on over. But the Elvis,
gone
the
then.
Memphis Mafia would be around us, and we sort of hung out on our own. We had our own friends, and we hung out into our own circle.
I'd like to play Silent Treatment now. Now, has that any stories behind that one?
It's an obscure, one of those obscure ones.
That's us on
I
radio
haven't heard
too.
it. I haven't heard it in a while.
I dug it out from under the bed.
You'd have to,
Yeah.
I think.
It's
I can't
nice, though. Written in the early 60s. It was found in the Warner Archives. Do you remember that?
I do. It was one of the cuts that we didn't release, and was when we left Warner's, you know, like after 10 years, and they put out the albums, but there were about 15 cuts or 16 cuts that had never been released, so it was obviously a song that we didn't think merited a single.
See what you think of it now.
If I called you once, I must have called you 1,000 times. You're never home. Never, never, never home. Every time I call your mother, give me the same old line. It's plain to see you're ducking me. Am I getting the silent treatment? Silent treatment. Silent treatment from you. Gee, I hate this cold and silent treatment. Silent treatment. Silent treatment from you. Ooh, say it ain't true. We used to be as close as pages in a book. Baby, what's the score? Don't you love me anymore? We've been apart so long I've forgotten how you look. I've missed you so. Please let me know. Am I getting the silent treatment? Silent treatment. Silent treatment from you. Gee, I hate this cold and silent treatment. Silent treatment. Silent treatment from you. Ooh, say it ain't true.
So what was the verdict on that one?
Well, I
I
think,
can't remember who wrote it.
yeah, we were debating that. I think we were correct, though, to leave it in the...
We did a lot of
I'm looking at it.
experimenting. That was a single, wasn't it?
It was Hoffman Manning.
It sounded like it might have been out of New York.
Yeah?
Yeah, that sounds like it's...
There's one period in the 60s, early 60s, we were experimenting with different sounds. That's when we did like Temptation, and we were taking old songs and going back and getting the 20s sounds and the 30s sounds, doing them with that Nashville edge, you know.
Let's talk about the tour, because I know people are waiting for me to tell them where you're going. You're going just about everywhere, from Margate to St Austell to Portsmouth to Leicester, Brighton, Croydon, Purfleet, Glasgow, Manchester. You're doing something in London? Yes, you must be.
Albert Hall and
When's
Hammersmith.
that? When's that?
Albert Hall is towards the end. Yeah. It'll be about a month.
So when do you actually start?
We start tomorrow in Belfast.
In Belfast, where it rains a lot in Belfast. So, yeah.
And then Dublin, and then we're back here.
Very expensive in Dublin.
Is it?
Very expensive. We did a television programme in Dublin, and then we did two for the price of the one that we did in Dublin in Kenya. So it is quite... sorry, Dublin, but it is quite... Now, do you get into training? Do you sort of stop eating and drinking and...
Well,
No, we actually increase all of that, when we get
after
out here.
the show, but before the day of the show and everything, you wake up that morning and it's showtime.
And so what do you do during the day? Hell, I would imagine.
Well, it's travel, you know, and one-nighters.
Yeah.
It's a matter of going around, and you sort of we kind of keep everything really quiet until after the show, and then we're sort of rowdy.
We have a lot of like I say, our band is really good friends too, and we've been traveling for the past 6-7 years now together, and so we really enjoy seeing each other. We enjoy each other's company. And we also, I like to travel. It's
Do you go around in a bus, or because you're grand,
Well-
you go around in a limo? Or?
well,
There's a little of both on the road. We're in limos.
How do the voices?
Bill's got his own. We don't ride together.
Exactly. We love the band, but
Yeah,
after all, they are minions.
Well, Bill and I don't even. Well, it's some time to actually. It's a time to really get yourself together. You know.
And in the States, we have 3 buses and a truck. It's like a small circus there, and
Yeah,
then we're all
that's-
just ride together.
That's what I love traveling on the buses we have in
do
the
too.
States. We
That's
have
the most-
microwaves and all kinds of TV and videos, and it's fun.
You're an
It's-
ether, are you?
It's 3 buses, and it's a bit like gypsies, and it's fun.
Yeah. How often do you tour?
And we tour in the summer. We usually do about 3 to 4 months a year, and then we take off the winter and kind of just stay home.
Well, it's a very, very busy life. Where do you live?
I live in California.
I live in Nashville.
And do you have animals? Are you animal lovers?
I'm between dogs right now.
I have.
I lost my dog about 3 years ago, and I just haven't got around to thinking about another one.
Well, if you're on the road, you don't want to have a dog, do you?
No, well, not right now. I'm thinking about it right now. I have thought about it.
Well, I hope the tour goes terribly well. Do you ever get voice trouble?
Occasionally, you know, you have to be careful and just kind of keep from getting a cold or something that would get in your way. And then sometimes you get fatigued, depending on. You just have to watch it.
You'll be doing the Wake Up Little Susies and things like that, and mixing it with new stuff.
Yeah, well, we try to do what we basically think that people have shown up to hear is a lot of the old things, and we do them, and they're different every night because we don't sing.
We will not be doing silent treatment.
We won't be doing that.
I promise you that.
But we throw in some things. We're going to throw in maybe some really very old stuff that we did as really youngsters on
Good.
radio, live radio, and
I'm sure people are like that. Will you be able to do anything else other than tour while you're in Britain? Will you go and see friends?
Oh yeah, we have friends here. Phil and I both have spent a lot of time here over the years, so we have a lot of our friends.
Have you noticed changes?
Oh yes.
yeah.
Well, the first time we arrived, the first time in '57, I remember arriving at the airport and being so excited that I arrived in London. It was at night. We couldn't see anything. I was looking at the car. There was no lights. We drove all the way to town. There was a fog, and we couldn't see. Looking out the window, where's London? Where's London? We drove all the way, got into the hotel, and still couldn't see anything. I was so tired. Went to the room. Woke up the next morning, bright and cheerful. Stepped out. I was in Piccadilly. I couldn't believe it. That was when they drove with the little lights on.
We don't have fog anymore.
No, I know.
That is a big
That's how
difference.
long we've been coming
I'm kind
here.
of glad that we had a chance to see it. though,
We
you
did
know?
see it, though.
They used to be hell.
Oh, it was
You
terrible.
couldn't see your hand.
You couldn't
on your
even-
face.
And all those old films, the Sherlock
I
Holmes
know,
down by the
I
embankment
know.
where people would get murdered.
Like,
Thick
the next
fog.
day, I woke up and walked out the door, and there was I just couldn't believe I'd been stopped by a spaceship.
Yes, we are a bit quaint. And have you noticed any changes this time?
Well, we were just here a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
We've been here quite a few times in the past.
I think
6-7 years.
You know, in the '60s, I think London
60s.
became a major thing, and was a lot of fun.
That
and,
was-
and from then on, I think it's been fine.
That song, England Swings, man. It
was a wonderful era, the
It was
60s,
so great.
wasn't it? Yeah.
It was
Loving
so great.
Spoonful
We
and all
spent a
that.
lot of time. People thought, well, you got overlooked at that period, but we spent a lot of time in England, and we had a wonderful time
Well,
in England.
Well, you seem to be great Anglophiles.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure we'll all turn out for your concerts, and I hope you have a great time. Thank you, boys, very much for
Thank you.
joining us. Here's one. This is, you'll enjoy this one.
Bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness, hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye-bye love, bye-bye sweet caress, hello emptiness, I feel like I could die. Bye-bye my love, goodbye. There goes my baby with someone new. sure looks happy, I sure am blue. She was my baby till he stepped in. Goodbye to romance that might have been. Bye-bye love, bye-bye happiness. Hello loneliness, I think I'm gonna cry. Bye-bye love, bye-bye sweet caress. Hello emptiness, I feel like I could die. Bye-bye my love, goodbye.
And that's the Everly Brothers, Bye Bye. Well, bye-bye to the Everlys.